If you want to get more B2B leads on a consistent basis, this is essentially how it works, okay? So you, in the middle here, have a system. That system could be any particular system for how you are putting leads through your pipeline. That could be whether they came in from inbound, outbound, paid ads, or a trade show, it doesn't matter, okay? There should be a particular system that's walking those leads through all of this as well, okay? Now, this can be broken down in so many different ways, okay? This could be your whole pipeline here. This could be people that go into your pipeline, and this could be people who come out of your pipeline, being that either they are going to be a paying client or they're closed loss, okay? So outputs, even though it's in green here, doesn't always necessarily mean the best of outputs. But again, that's what we're aiming for. So let's take that assumption here, okay? So that could be your whole overall pipeline. But in your pipeline itself, in this system and within itself, it's got its own individual systems, okay? So again, this is your whole pipeline, as we said, as an entire system. But if we actually zoom out and how do we get people in the pipeline, we have other systems that also have inputs and outputs, okay? So this could be your email outreach, okay? This could be your SEO side of things. This could be your paid ad system, okay? And each of those have their own systems within them as well, okay? So we're not going too far into everything because we could go systems so many layers deep here. Let's take some particular examples here as well, okay? Now, I should also say, I kind of touched on it here as well, that more inputs doesn't always mean better outputs. Again, there's so many different ways you can look about this as well, okay? So let's say, for example, in regards to SEO, okay? So the system is essentially your website, okay? Your website is essentially the system that these people are being put through. The input is that they found you by looking you up for various keywords, various search terms on Google or Bing or ChatGPT or Gemini, Perplexity, doesn't matter as well, okay? So again, that's your input, okay? When someone finds your website and they click on it, they go through this particular system, which is how your website essentially appears to them, what the messaging that comes across to them, how your website is set up in regards to if they're going to skim your website for headings, whatever it might be. If you have pictures on your website, a picture says 1,000 words. If you have the particular CRO side of things, people can actually fill in their information on a page that they land on. They don't have to go to your homepage, which again is the homepage is the worst place that you can send somebody if they're looking for you. Again, a lot of people don't realize that. If you want, I can make a whole video about that. If you want to see why that is the case, you can leave a comment in the comment section below. And then the output is that person has filled out a form on your website, being that they either want a demo or a call, or they filled out an inquiry form, or they downloaded even a lead magnet, whatever it might be, okay? But that is your kind of your SEO side of things here as well, okay? So let's just actually break that down a bit more. I'll just use the black marker for all this, okay? So this is the searchers up here, okay? And again, as I said, that could be any particular search engine. It could be Google, Bing, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, doesn't matter, okay? The system, that's essentially your website, okay? Now again, most people have a website as just a big, fancy, expensive digital business card, which is not what it should be. It should be a 24/7 salesperson, okay? And then the outputs are new leads, okay? So in this particular example, that is what we have here as well, okay? So we have the searchers, they find your website, they go through your website, and because of the information they see on your website, they become a lead, okay? That's how that particular system in itself will work there as well, okay? So let's say that in this particular example, that person has gone through all of these. So, and I'm not going to go over how to optimize your website or anything like that in this particular video, because it would just take forever. Like we do trainings on this, and they're hours long because there's a lot that, if you want to do it properly, goes into it. So let's say that person, they found your website, they are now in your pipeline system, okay? So this system now, the inputs are the new leads, okay? So essentially, the outputs from the old section, they are now the inputs from the new section, okay? I hope this is making sense. So that person then goes through essentially the system, which is your pipeline. Now, in a previous video, we walked through how to essentially automate pretty much every single step of the pipeline. We talked about 10 different things in your pipeline you can automate in a previous video. You can check that out as well if you want. And then essentially the output, like let's assume that these are good outputs. In this case, is a paying customer or a paying client as well, okay? Whatever way you refer to those people in your particular organization. So that's the system there then, okay? So we have then, in this particular case, the inputs are the leads, which from the previous example we got from SEO. They're going through our pipeline, which is the system here, to convert them from a new lead to, let's say, this system here is, just to be very quick about it, is they are a lead, then they're a qualified lead, then they book a sales call with you, then they show up to the sales call, then they have a sales call with that particular salesperson. Everybody has buy-in that they need, and that person then, the next stage is for them to become a paying client as well, okay? So you could literally break this down in, again, very simple 3 steps into pretty much everything you're doing within the business. It pretty much all goes through an inputs output system as well, okay? So that is how pretty much everything is run in the B2B side of things, okay? Now, again, one of the things that I do want to point out is that more inputs doesn't mean better outputs. Like I said before, this could mean that it's something where you don't get the result you're looking for. And again, that could be in any of these particular systems. As an example, one of the clients that we worked with when we ran our B2B done for you SEO agency, they were getting, I think, like 1,000 leads per month or something like that. But they said that 80 to 90% of them are just not qualified. They're kind of spam. They're not suitable whatsoever. But they wanted more people to find their website. So we were able to help them with that. But we had to set the expectation from the start that even if we go from getting you 1,000 leads to 1,200 up to 1,500 to 2,000 leads per month, that you still have to expect that 80, 90% of them are going to be not qualified. They're going to be bad leads. And yes, there might be bots that are filling out those forms. That's just the nature of the internet. They laughed and said, "We understand that, Paul. Don't worry about that." And because of that, they were a very easy client to work with, okay? Because again, their expectations were correct. But what you need to understand about that, because again, a lot of you are going, or a lot of you might be looking at this video going, well, why would I just want to double the amount of leads or bad leads and spam robots filling out forms that comes in as well, okay? Because let's say, as I said, that from the 1,000 leads they were getting from their website, that realistically about 100, 200, let's just say 150 in this particular case were actually very good as well, okay? So they've got 150, okay? So why would you want to double the likes of the spam that's coming through? Why would you want to double the likes of the robots that are filling out the forms? Why would you want to expose the website to more people that it's not suitable for and to more robots as well? Well, because they go from 150, again, let's just take the assumption here, we double the website or double the visitors, which doubles everything through here, okay? Then they go to 300. Okay, this is one of the things that a lot of people in B2B don't realize. They focus on the negatives rather than focusing on the positives as well, okay? So if it's the case that you have 80, 90% unqualified people filling out your forms on your website, well, first of all, there's ways that you can prevent that. You can put different conditional logic on your form so that if someone types in something that you don't want and that isn't suitable for you, you can easily say, sorry, but we're not a good fit, and they never enter this system, which is probably better for you as well, unless everything here is automated anyway. But again, it just means that more people can go through, and if it is automated, you don't have to do anything. All you've done is gone from 150 to 300. Okay. Now, again, that's for that particular client we're talking about. Your numbers obviously would be very different depending on what you're doing as well. Okay. But as I said, the inputs in that case, they were getting 1,000 leads per month. They wanted to double that, so they went to 2,000 leads per month. Okay. From I don't know if the website traffic had doubled. I don't think it doubled because, again, different things that we do with SEO, we're able to find the right people to the website. So I actually don't think it doubled. But again, the outputs were what they were looking at. The outputs doubled, but the input of traffic didn't need to, okay? And again, if you do your SEO correctly, you don't need to double your SEO traffic to actually get double the outputs as well, okay? Especially in the world of AI at the moment as well. But I know this is crazy to say, but I know we're seeing a lot less people clicking on websites. That's a good thing. And again, if you want to understand why that is, I did a video about why B2B is more important than ever in the world of SEO. You can have a look at that as well, okay? So let's look at another particular system here, and then just to really drive this particular point home. So we're going to take away absolutely everything. We're starting fresh with a whole new brand. We're starting a brand new whole system here. So again, we're just starting with the basics here. So again, we have our system in the middle, the inputs that we're going to put into it, and the outputs that we're expecting to get, okay? So let's say that in this particular case, it is email outreach, okay? Now, the system here in that particular case, that is your messaging, it is your follow-ups, it is your, not conditional logic, but your syntax, your liquid syntax, your spin tax, the way you have your opt-out forms written, or your opt-out, not forms, but opt-out messaging written, whether you're using any spam words, whether you have your text setup done, so you get in people's inboxes, everything that goes into that particular system, okay? The inputs then are the leads that you actually are putting through that particular system. Now, that could be that these leads that you found their website and you find people's email addresses on their website. It could be that you downloaded a list from the likes of Zoom Info or Clay or whatever it might be, or Apollo, any of those particular things. You put those leads through that system, and obviously the outputs that you're trying to get, and let's just say this is your email outreach system. Let's just say email outreach. And obviously the outputs are, well, actually, let's say in this case that the outputs are not even people who have booked a call with you, but they're just positive replies. Okay, people who've put their hand up and essentially said, "Yes, your email resonates with me, and I would like to know more as well." Okay, so essentially that person becomes a new lead. Okay, and if you want to put them into your CRM, then everything goes back into what we just had. Okay, and actually I'll write it on the bottom here, just to kind of differentiate it, but it's the exact same as what we had before. That person then becomes a lead in your CRM, and they're going through your pipeline. And the output then hopefully would be that they are a paying client, okay, or paying customer, whatever you call it, okay? So again, they go through this particular system, and then they have to go through this particular system, okay? But the point I'm trying to make here is that everything is going to be a system, okay? Now I'll just take these things off so we can have a bit of a cleaner board here. But again, this goes for literally anything at all. And like the more that you realize this, the more that you're able to, what's the best way of putting this? The more that you realize this, the more that you can step back and go, oh, actually, what do we need to do? You can actually simplify it by this as well here, okay? Again, even with your, let's say, for example, you're doing paid ads as well, okay? So again, there's lots of different things that go into this. So the system for paid ads would be, let's say, your landing pages, the wording you have on your landing pages, if you have a video, if it's a VSL, video sales letter, if you've got images, if you're actually selling something there, if you're just trying to get somebody to download a lead magnet, like there's so many different things that go into just that particular section there, okay? So that's the system there essentially is your landing page, okay? Now again, I would recommend you use a landing page. Don't send somebody to your website homepage. That's a massive mistake that I see when people are running paid ads. Just send people to a homepage. The homepage is the worst place that you can send anybody. And if you want evidence of this, look up any particular type of product or service online, and you'll see that in the results, Google does not like to send people to a homepage unless that's the only thing that particular person does. But let's say you look up accounting software for construction, okay? You're not going to be sent to a homepage in Google for that. You're going to be finding Xero's page all about how they help construction people with accounting. You're going to find QuickBooks pages all about how they help people with how they help construction people with accounting. Google does not want to send people to a homepage. It's their last resort. So if you are targeting people specifically in a particular industry or particular ICP, have a dedicated landing page for that. Not only will it resonate way more with them, so you're going to convert way more, but it means that the likes of Google organically will like you more, but also Google, from an ads perspective, likes you more as well, believe it or not, okay? Because there's a lot that goes into it. So again, that's that particular system that you actually do have a lot of control over. So the inputs in that particular case, I'll just stick with the black pen actually, I'm just going to go back to blue. So the inputs in that particular case, they could be, and again, let's just assume this is search engine marketing. So this is people who look up on a particular search engine, such as Google or Bing. Let's just stick with Google for this particular example here. And your ads show up at the top, okay? So in that case, the inputs are going to be your keywords and your search terms, okay? So they're the things that you're actually bidding on. Now, you, just like with everything, every other system here, you control these inputs, okay? You control what the keywords are, you control the search terms, and if you know what you're doing, you will know based on the search intent of these keywords whether they'd be suitable to go after or not. You also control your negative keywords in these as well. There's so many different things that, from an inputs perspective, you actually control this, because I should have said this from the start. Systems, they're going to produce whatever you put into them, okay? So if you put good inputs, you're going to get good outputs, okay? If you put bad inputs, you're going to get bad outputs, okay? It's going to be garbage in, garbage out. Gold in, gold out, okay? Now, the reason a lot of people don't put the gold in from the start is because, it's very difficult to do. It's very time consuming. It's a lot of effort involved. The people who put those resources aside so they actually can set up their inputs correctly and their systems, they get the outputs that they want, okay? So let's be realistic about this here as well, okay? So when you're going through the system, again, you've probably seen and probably understand already that everything that you do is system related, that goes inputs through a system and its outputs as well, okay? So again, in this particular case, you control everything in regards to the inputs. You actually do control the system as well. And then in regards to the outputs, what we're looking for there is your leads. And again, that could be that person downloaded a lead magnet. They could have booked a demo call. They could have booked to be on a webinar, whatever it is that you do at that particular stage there. But again, that person goes back into the overall system that we saw for our pipeline, which is then the lead becomes the input. Again, let's spot that back here. Leads. This is going to be, again, your pipeline. And then over on your outputs is hopefully that person's a paying client, okay? And the more I could do this for days. I could show you systems for days and days and days that all do the exact same thing, that all lead to the exact same system here as well. Okay. So again, even with the likes of, it doesn't have to be even before that person becomes a paying client. You have systems throughout your whole entire organization, even when somebody does actually have or somebody does become a paying client of yours as well. Okay. So let's say you are a software company. Let's say that you're a HR software company, okay? I'm just absolutely random out of the air to take an example there as well, okay? So in that particular case then, the paying client is the input, okay? The system is your software, okay? As in, does that person like that software? Do they continue to use it? Blah, blah, blah. The output then being happy customer who continues to be a paying customer, which gives you more monthly recurring revenue. Now, I'm just taking that assumption that if you're a software company, you work on monthly recurring revenue, okay? That's essentially, in a nutshell, how that works there as well, okay? Because again, if your input there is, let's say, that it's someone who's a paying client, but your system is bad, okay? So again, if your system is bad, obviously the outputs are going to be bad as well, okay? Because you can put great inputs, but if they go into a terrible system, the outputs are going to be bad, okay? So that person then could be a not happy client. They could not want to continue paying. They could want to go with your competitors instead, okay? So again, you control pretty much everything that's here as well, okay? So again, like I said, I could do this for days and days and days, but I think I've given enough examples there, and hopefully at this stage you get the point, okay? So look, that is how everything in your organization is going to work. Doesn't matter whether it is marketing, whether it is HR, whether it is your full overall pipeline, whether it is after somebody becomes a paying customer, whether it is your accounts department, well, it doesn't matter, okay? Every single thing has a very simple inputs into a system and then outputs, okay? Now, as I said, sometimes those outputs, they reverse back and then they become the inputs, okay? Like I said, the leads that we have as outputs from our SEO, email, ads, whatever it might be, they then revert back to being the input of the next system, which is your overall pipeline, okay? So this is an easy way to kind of break this down. And you may want to take a few moments throughout the day to actually, anytime that you're doing, well, particularly anything, write down, well, what is the actual system here? What are the inputs? What is the system that you control? And what are the inputs, which again, you control? So could these inputs be better into the system? Is the system running at 100%? Could we keep the system, could we actually get the system running better? Realistically and objectively, is it running at, a percentage where it needs to be? Because again, one of the issues with systems is that when it's internal, we get so stuck in but this is how it always is. This is how this is. And it's very hard to see the woods for the trees. So we don't know that our systems are good or bad, okay? But if you, and this takes a lot of practice to do, but if you can step back and objectively look at your system rather than subjectively, you can say, well, actually, that could be improved. We can increase conversions because of this. We could do that and we could do that. Meaning that when we put more of these in here, if the system is better, we get better outputs as well, okay? So let's say, again, let's just make it really, really simple. 100 leads go into a particular system, and that could be, let's just say, it's your website. So 100 people see your website on Google, they see your website in ChatGPT, whatever, it doesn't matter, okay? Whatever the search engine is, 100 people see it. They actually go to your website. Does your website do a good enough job of converting them? Yes, it's currently converting people, let's say 1%. So every 100 people that go through, then we get one person who becomes a new lead, and then they go into that particular pipeline as well, okay? But you can actually change this. So let's say that we can actually change every level of this. So let's say, and we keep this at 100 for now, okay? But if you're increasing your CRO, if you're doing the right SEO, because again, SEO and CRO go hand in hand when they're on your website, there's a lot of things that you can do to really speak to that person. Is it a dedicated landing page that person was looking for? Then all of a sudden, you have a 2% conversion, okay? That means that now you've doubled the amount of people you're going to 2, okay? Now, again, I know that doesn't seem extreme going from 1 to 2, but again, let's just take, we can keep these same examples, but let's say 1,000 people then find your website. Now, if you go from 1 to 2%, instead of 10 people, it's 20 people. So all of a sudden, you've got much bigger outputs as well, okay? And again, you can control those inputs. You can actually make that go from 100 to 1,000, okay? Now, you have to understand as well, at some point, the law of diminishing returns will kick in as well. Because again, there's only so many people who are going to be looking for your exact particular thing online. It could be 1,000 people per month. It could be 5,000 people per month. It could be 100,000 people per month. Okay. But again, you can control that. We do have technology and software and tools to help us in this day and age to see who's looking for our website, what keywords are they searching, what particular search terms are they looking for, what are our competitors doing, is Google showing dedicated landing pages, what needs to be on that page, what words, what images, what headings, etc., needs to be on that page for us to go from 2% to, let's say now, 3%, because we've done the research, we've done our homework, and now we know. So now all of a sudden we're getting 30 people who are converting, okay? Again, this goes for literally anything. So again, in this case, you absolutely control the system. You 100% control the inputs as well, okay? Now, let's just take an example here. And I'll just do a couple more and then I'll finish the video here. So let's say that you've got some bad inputs, okay? So let's say this particular system is your email outreach. And let's say that you've just downloaded a list of 100,000 people because you assume, and this 100,000 people could just be CEOs of the B2B world, okay? And you assume that every single person could use your particular software or whatever it might be as well that you sell, okay? So you just say, well, surely if I just email 100,000 people, then somebody's going to reply, okay? So if it's 100,000 people, and they're going through your particular system here, which is your email outreach, you have to remember that now this system, unlike what we had a moment ago in SEO, this is not dedicated. There's no dedicated landing page. There's nothing that speaks directly to that person. There's nothing kind of personalized in there. It's just a very broad message. You're probably well aware that if you try and target everybody, you're really going to target nobody. If everyone is your customer, nobody is your customer. I believe that's what the phrase is. So in that case, you could have really bad outputs in that case. And let's say out of 100,000 people that you contact, you might get one person who replies, okay? Now, the reason you still get one is because somewhere, somehow, in some way, shape, or form, your broad messaging is going to reach somebody, okay? But if you, instead of having 100,000 people for what we call a spray and pray, where you just basically contact as many people as possible and just hope somebody will get back to you. Look, a lot of people say that email outreach is a numbers game. Yes, it is, but the more targeted your messages is to that person, the more it resonates with that person, the more likely you are to actually get better results, okay? So we can actually reduce this down. So instead of getting 100,000 people, which, yeah, potentially at some stage might be possible, if we get, let's say, 10,000 people, actually, let me just move that because of the comment as well. So let's say now we've been a bit more targeted with who we're going after. So now we have 10,000 people who are going through our email outreach system, which again is now optimized. So let's say we've gone from 50 to 80% instead, okay? So now with 10,000 people, they all see pretty much something that's dedicated to them. We've got the correct kind of follow-ups. There's loads of things that are working to our advantage in the system because we've looked at it objectively to see what can we actually do for these 10,000 people and actually tell them in a way that resonates with them to hit on their pain points and different things like that. So now, on the 10,000 people we reached out to, we actually have 10. Now, the weird thing here is that in this case, we've actually reduced our inputs by 10%, but we have 10x'd our results here, okay? So, more inputs does not mean better outputs, as I mentioned. I believe I mentioned that at one point earlier in the video as well, okay? So, as I said, you control the inputs. Doesn't matter whether it's email outreach, it doesn't matter whether it's SEO, paid ads, doesn't matter. You control this, okay? So, a lower number can actually give you better outputs if you know what you're doing, and this is optimized, and this is optimized, okay? So, again, you can turn something that is a bad system into a good system by, first of all, objectively looking at the system and then objectively looking at the inputs as well, okay? Because you control those things. You control over 100% of those things, okay? Well, almost 100% of those things. But the vast majority of them, yes, you'll be able to control, okay? So look, that is how everything, absolutely everything works in your organization, okay? It is inputs that go through a system that then give you the outputs that hopefully you do want as well, okay? So that's going to bring me to an end of that particular video. If you do want to hand with any of the things that we went over there, how to put together your website for SEO, how to get better conversions, how to get more people replying to your emails, whatever it might be, you can check out the first link in the description. We show B2B companies how to do this all the time, every day of the week. Obviously, we can help you with that as well. And if there's anything in particular that you don't want a video about, you can just leave it in the comments below, and I'll do my best to make a video all about that. But hopefully you got some value from that particular video, and I'll see you in the next one.